Hey everybody, welcome to another CyberSec Tuesday. Tonight we are going to be talking about RayHunter, detecting MZ catchers in the wild. Before we get started with that, we're going to talk about our sponsor, ArcLight 6. ArcLight 6 is a consulting firm that focuses on engineering and consulting, which specializes in cybersecurity, networking, and software engineering. Check them out at arclight6.com. I have their URL on the screen right here. Big shout out and thanks to them. They're the ones that have been helping us with our CTFs, our DEF CON extravaganzas, and other things coming soon. So, uh, big shout out and thanks to them. So today I'll be doing a talk on RayHunter. For those that haven't heard of RayHunter, it's a tool that was designed by the EFF for detecting cell site simulators out there in the wild. And this is something I saw that popped up on my feed. I don't know, a couple months ago, probably a few months before DEF CON, and it really intrigued me. I in the past I've been curious about. I'm big into privacy. I follow the EFF pretty closely, and I've used some cell site simulator apps in the past, like for Android, to try to detect those, but with varied success. And I've read that the the accuracy of those aren't so good. So the EFF has been working out on a tool I'll be talking more about in a second here called RayHunter that leverages a wireless hotspot to run 24/7 and start collecting in data. I'm gonna okay. Thanks for meeting. So yeah, let's go into that. So kind of what's at stake? What are the risks in regards to cell site simulators? So um, everybody uses a phone, but there is kind of a hidden threat here. This is not theoretical. These devices, these Stingray devices, it's MC Catcher, Stingray, cell site simulators. I'm going to use these words kind of all intermingling, but they all I'm all leading to the same thing. They are real devices that exist. They're um, owned by police departments, by the government, different government agencies, and they are Stingray was actually a brand name, kind of think like Kleenex for tissues. That was one, um, and there's been a whole variety of these Stingray devices that have grown into the wild. Um, these When you hear of IMSI catchers, IMSI itself is stands for International Mobile Subscriber Identity. It's a ID that's tied to your SIM card. There's also IMEI numbers that are actually tied to your phone. That allows the cell carrier to know um, who's using their networks and who to charge, and charge based off the amount of data you're using, and allow your device to connect to their cell towers, so on and so forth. Um, these MC catchers, they will impersonate legitimate cell towers. They intercept the traffic from your phone to the tower itself. They can be used for tracking phones. They can force your phone to reveal its unique identifier to people outside of just the cell carriers themselves. And they could also, outside of like being used by law enforcement and the military and government agencies and whatnot, they can also be used by criminals. I'll talk later. There's been stories about people building their own devices and being able to use those to spoof SMS messages and things like that. So, kind of in a nutshell, this is a little flow diagram. Oh, you know what? Is my screen not? Do you guys not see my screen moving? Oh no, actually, I see it now.
Yeah, I can see your pointer and everything. It's
Oh,
just, yeah. The page didn't update if that was what you were wondering.
oh, okay, cool. Um, so how they work, MC catchers, and they are they go from your this is a flow diagram from your phone. your phone will, typically reach out to a cell phone tower. But if there is a IMSI catcher or Stingray out in the wild, what they will do is they will start broadcasting out stronger signals than the real towers. And your phones are always looking for the towers with the best signal, so it can connect to it and have like the fastest connection, the most reliable connection. So these Stingrays will simulate these cell phone towers, and your phone will connect to them. And what it will do is, it's very similar to like a Wi-Fi man in the middle. Your phone will connect to their device, and their device will then connect to the real cell phone tower. So while you're on your phone, everything's working. Your calls are going through. Your internet's working. Your messages are being sent. Um, but you are completely unaware that your phone's actually being intercepted by this third party itself. Um, and what they can do is they can actually do different attacks against your phone. There's different downgrade attacks, which I'll talk more about in a bit. They can make your phone reveal its identity. It can intercept phone calls, SMS messages, and even track your location. They can also do more advanced stuff through like triangulation as well. Um, and there are three different threats in regards to this that I kind of talked about. Um, Dropping your or leveraging 2G and GSM networks. 2G itself has been mostly discontinued here in the United States, but it is used across other countries across the world. Um, this interception can be used for disabling encryption, where they will actually tell the your phone to stop using its encryption feature of like the cell connectivity, which will allow them to dissect the packets, see things in clear text, things like that. If the things that you're sending over aren't already encrypted via like HTTPS, or you're using some sort of encrypted messaging app, so like those things will still protect you, but other things, especially metadata, could be unencrypted and be collected by these third parties. They can use it for location tracking. They can also do service downgrade attacks, where they can downgrade your service from 4G, which has a lot more security built into it, to a more insecure version of 2G. You'll see in a lot of phones, like if you use Android or Graphene OS, and even like iPhones in lockdown mode, you'll have an option typically where you can disable the use of 2G networks. And that's because of this vulnerability here, where if your phone does get pushed in this 2G mode, there are a lot of the security protections that are built in these more modern protocols are not there. So things to keep in mind. Um, in regards to the detection problem, uh, networks vary by carrier, country, configuration. What looks suspicious in one place may be normal in another. And this is in regards to the amount of like the data that's being the way the cell phone towers are actually communicating with your phone. There is really there are standards, but the standards are kind of a mess. It's a hundred different companies trying to like make these standards all for their um you know in their favor. And the from like the research I've seen, I know the EFF just did a talk at DEF CON 33 this last year on RayHunter, and they were talking about how the way that cell towers interact with phones is just it is a mess, and if a normal person was just looking at that traffic, they might think there was some shenanigans going on, but really a lot of times that's just normal for how cell phone towers interact with the users. So um, the EFF had to go and actually start working with like different um, carriers. One carrier's known as Cape. They're a privacy respecting carrier. And they did a lot of work with the EFF to try to figure out how these cell site simulators work. and how to detect patterns that they can use for analyzing the data that's being received by the device, and then trying to find out, okay, was this a real threat or not? Um, so with that being said, there's lots of false positives. There is chances of missing real attacks. In the past, before RayHunter came out, like I mentioned, there was some like consumer apps you can put on your phone, like I think like Spoof Snitch, I believe, or different like tower spoof tracking apps, and the reliability of those detections were very spotty, um, which caused the EFF to come around and start building out RayHunter itself. So, which it brings us to RayHunter. So RayHunter itself is a open source Linux program designed to detect um, cell sites. I think my slide deck is like one slide behind. Do you guys see? Does it say enter RayHunter, or does it say what is RayHunter?
It says enter RayHunter.
Oh, that's weird. Why is it? Let me. I think it might be Discord being weird. Let me change my stream options, maybe. Okay, that seems better. I set it to clarity mode, and I think it was like prioritizing too much clarity. Okay, I think we're good now. Okay, so sorry. So yeah, what is RayHunter? It's an open source Linux program that's designed to detect site seal simulators. As mentioned before, it's created by the EFF, Electric Frontier Foundation. The whole point of it was to make this software run on consumer hardware that wasn't expensive, that's easy to get your hands on, that wouldn't set off alarm bells when you went to the TSA, things like that. Um, and you're able to create this tool. It's all written in Rust to work on a variety of hotspot devices. So think of like the hotspot devices you pick up from like your Verizon or your T-Mobile or AT&T store. There is a lot of those that RayHunter can be installed on, and it's what happened is there was somebody who was able to start routing these hotspots. Um, a couple of years ago, and that kind of led the EFF down to saying, okay, let's see if we can leverage, this root capability. So a lot of these are running Android operating systems, and so based off that information, they were able to actually create these images that could just be flashed right onto the device, and on the devices themselves, where RayHunter is running, it ends up running a RayHunter web server that you can log into and interact with and things like that. So the great thing about these devices is they all have, most of these hotspots have batteries in them, so you can, they're low powered. You can turn them on, let them run in the background. Leave them in your car, leave them in your backpack. I don't quote me on this, but I believe you could still use the hotspot as normal, even with RayHunter built on or installed on it. So if you wanted to use it for connecting to your laptop or whatnot while you're traveling, I believe that still works. I haven't tested that yet. Right now, I just have the Verizon Orbic device. The Orbic is the most common. I'll show. I think I have a picture of what it looks like here. Yeah, this device here. I got this on eBay for about $15. It was used, and I threw in like expired, non-activated Verizon SIM card in there too, so it can connect to the network. But it's not actually. I'm not paying any sort of mobile subscription or whatnot. Um, so and it works with like there's tons of different devices, and they're adding more as time goes on. And I think I can show some images of like where these devices work in which countries. Each device is depending on the device's bands that they have in there, they work better in certain countries than other ones. So, kind of in a nutshell, how does RayHunter work? It will it like I mentioned, the RayHunter itself runs on the device. It spins up a web server, and it runs passively in the background. It does passive monitoring. It doesn't interfere with any of the other connections that are on the device. It captures conversations between the device and the towers. It does behavioral analysis, kind of looking how the tower behaves when the connection's made. It does signature-based detections, looking for known patterns of cell site simulator devices, and then it has the option to alert with details about these investigations. It uses the NTFY, I think also known as Notify service. It's a service that you guys, I can drop some links to it later, but it's an easy way to be able to send notifications from different devices. It's used a lot in the open source community, and that could set it up. You can set it up so it could then alert you that there is, some shenanigans going on the network. Um, so these anomalies in the connection process, um, it looking for specific behaviors of what shouldn't happen. That's kind of the main goal of the whole thing. Um, some examples is if you see like if the device sees um, uh, requests for encryption downgrades or unusual timing patterns. Um, it's not just about the signal strength; it's also about protocol behavior as well. So there are different. This is pretty sophisticated at what it does, and they're constantly updating it. So there is easy ways to update the device after you have it installed. So, like I mentioned, this is the Orbic RC400L. Look it up on eBay. They were pretty cheap. I don't know since RayHunter came out if the prices have jumped up or not. Like I said, I was able to get it for about $15. And I don't think it matters which version you get. I think there's like T-Mobile versions and Verizon versions. Um, so, but the documentation for RayHunter on their website will give a little more information on that. Um, so I mentioned earlier uh, detection methodologies. There is signature-based detection options, similar to like how antivirus signatures work, um, but more focused on the network behavior. These patterns include timing anomalies, protocol violations, unusual message sequences. Um, the EFF has tested um, a lot of these against actual commercial cell site simulator devices to kind of figure out like the success rate. Um, and they were able to succeed or get to a point of like 100% detection rate, at least at that time that they tested everything. This whole thing's evolving, so they are constantly updating this as time progresses. Um, but at least in their lab environment, they were able to test every or catch every single test that they did. Um, So installing on the device, so to do this, I'm not going to go through steps on this. Their documentation is really good. You literally just to describe what you need to do to get this thing installed on your Orbic on your like hotspot devices. You literally just need a Windows, Mac, or Linux system with the release files downloaded from their website. This is all in their documentation. And what you'll do is plug the device into your computer and run one single command, and it will literally just go and flash the device with the firmware. Once that's done, everything's pretty much there, and the device, like I mentioned, should work as usual. Um, there is there are some options to get some status of what's going on the device, like whether it's recording traffic or not. And usually, just give an example, you'll see in this picture here, there's a green bar at the top. This is kind of like a inconspicuous way to show that there's a recording going on. Um, so at quick glance, if somebody pulls out your device and they won't know like this is a cell site simulator detecting tool. based off that. There you can flash like different images on here, like little like logos and whatnot of like RayHunter or things like that. If you want to it to be more obvious, that you're using RayHunter. But by default, once you flash the device, this little green bar at the top is the only notice you have that it's actually doing something, which is kind of nice. Um, Once you have the device flashed, you can go to the device's IP address. Once you connect to the network, you can connect to the device via either USB from the device to your laptop, or connect to the hotspot that the device creates. Because at the end of the day, this device is a hotspot device, and the hotspot device will create a wireless network you can connect to. From there, you just go to the main device's IP address at port 8080, and you'll get sent to this web page. Um, and the device will be continually scanning 24/7 in the background. There's really not many like options, at least from the screen, to modify like the different. There's not really any options. It's either you start the recording, or you can just let the recordings go 24/7. And what they'll do is they'll just constantly fill the storage, and I believe once the storage gets full, it will start removing old copies of these PCAPs that it's collecting, and just kind of overwrite those in a circular manner. So it just constantly 24/7 um, running these scans. So it'll do a scan in a section. I don't know exactly the time frame. I think it's like one scan per hour, but I could be wrong on that. Once the scan's done, it will then do on device analysis, like I mentioned before, for any suspicious activity, and then from there it will let you know via like warnings or notifications if anything was found or not. Um, and like I said, that could be through the notify service. Otherwise, you just log in the device and you take a look. You can download the PCAPs and do your own analysis as well too. I can show you guys. I don't know too much about LTE PCAP information, but this is the PCAP opened up in Wireshark. I tried running this through some AI analysis because I honestly don't know much about how these device to cell tower communications work. I'm more familiar with like um, Ethernet packets and whatnot. But let's see if I have example of what I got out of some analysis. Let's see. No, I'll share if I have anything. I was trying to run this through like ChatGPT to give me some sense of what was going on. And I got a little bit of stuff, but the use of cell site simulators, to be honest, are pretty rare, and that's a lot of what they're finding is they aren't used as often as one would think. People have been using this as RayHunter is becoming more and more popular. They've been using these a lot in like protests and things like that, and they're not finding too much activity yet. But there definitely has been. There has been. Um, I'm located in Southern California. For those that are familiar with the area, there has been findings of cell site simulators in San Bernardino County, as well as like Fontana, California. There was a lot in Chicago. So more and more police departments get their hands on these devices, you'll probably start seeing these being used more and more. So just something to keep in mind. I do want to take a break to see if anybody has any questions or comments at all. Cool. All right, taking it easy on me today. Nice. Okay. So, what have we found? And when I say we, it's really the EFF has been taking the data. And so, um, as of right now, there's been um, about 3,000 RayHunter devices deployed in the wild. So the adoption is starting to grow. Everybody that gets one of these devices and runs it and shares back the information back with the EFF will help kind of what this mission that they're working on. Um, you know, there's been dozens of packet captures contributed to the EFF. They've been making tons of improvements. Everything's all open source, and crowdsourced for this whole movement. Um, but there has been some interesting findings in regards to protests. So, in regards to U.S. protests, uh, uh, RayHunter has not turned up any evidence of self-site simulators so far in like the last, what is it, like it's been out for less than a year now. So they've tested it at different pro-Palestine uh, protests, events in Washington D.C., demonstrations in L.A., and multiple protest locations nationwide. Um, so this is good so far. How However, they did start finding, detections in other locations. Um, so one was in, cruise port off in, the Turks and Caicos Islands, reports in Chicago, detections in New York, and then multiple, like I mentioned too, multiple ones in California. So they are definitely seeing them more and more, as like time goes on. But they think a lot of these might be in regards to like the law enforcement just testing devices, or maybe using these in special cases. I mean, the good thing is that we haven't been seeing these used much in protests, but they are possibly being used in different criminal cases and whatnot. In Paris, there was a MC catcher discovered in 2025 where a driver got pulled over in Paris, and they saw the cop that pulled him over saw this device with a bunch of antennas in the back and thought it was a bomb. So they brought out the bomb squad. The bomb squad got out there and realized it wasn't a bomb. So they called the IT crew to come out, and that's when they discovered it was an MC catcher. They discovered that this person, and this it was like, I think there was like 5 people between like the ages of like 20 and 35 that got arrested. They were doing health insurance scams through SMS phishing messages using the MC catchers. So, like I mentioned, it's not just used in law enforcement; it is used by criminals as well, and we're going to see more and more of this as time goes on. Um, these devices aren't that hard to create. A lot of times you can, just use some off the shelf devices, like, what do you call them? Like not RTL SDRs, but like the more advanced ones. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I know Wearlock's got one. HackRF, like HackRFs, more advanced devices, kind of like that. These software-defined radios are becoming more prevalent, which is going to allow. And honestly, I've seen in the past too, where people have been able to go on like AliExpress and these like Chinese websites and start buying parts to make their own cell site simulators. So
I don't know what you're
just
talking
to
about.
know that, huh?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, just to know though, anybody that tries to ever create one of these devices, it is a violation of the FCC, and I'm sure there's like a ton of other laws that it breaks. So something to keep in mind. Um, Also, one thing to know too, in California or in America, cell site simulator detecting tools aren't illegal, at least from what I'm aware of, but it can vary depending on which country you live in. So if you're ever gonna mess around with RayHunter in your country, do check to see the legalities of it as well. I'm not your lawyer, so I have no idea. So, but like I mentioned, in California, they detected the use of MC catchers over 300 times in 2 year period. Um, so they are being used more. Some of the like the legality issues, why these are, like I mentioned earlier, like the issues with people using these. What other issues with, outside of just like your privacy? There's a lot of um, you know issues with these being used that are going to kind of go against your First Amendment rights. A lot of these law enforcement offices will use these without getting warrants or with sealed warrants. The public often doesn't know when or where they're being used. There's limited oversight mechanisms on the usage of cell site simulators, and defense attorneys can't often get the information. So things to keep in mind. The use of these um, can kind of go against your freedom of speech, of expression, things like that. The how like the EFF was acquired, like some of this information on like the how many times these cell site simulators were used in California is they actually had to do a FOIA request, and one of the services that EFF offers is like specialized attorney services for these sort of rights violations. So in some of the cases that they worked on, they were able to uncover some of this information. So just kind of the key points: detection tools create accountability, allows us to keep the law enforcement and whoever using these devices accountable. If we can detect these cell site simulators, it forces transparency. It's also about balancing security and civil liberties. And without the detection capabilities, we have no way to check on the abuse of them. So just some detection challenges right now.
By the way,
Like
did
I
you
mentioned
just
earlier,
change slides?
oh, is it not working again? Oh man, yeah. I think it's in Discord. I think it's something to do with Discord. Uh, Thanks for rolling that out. Let's see. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, hold on. All right, well, bear with me, guys. All right. Okay, detection challenges. Yeah, that's where we left off. So, like I mentioned, most of these detections or most of these deployments of RayHunter have been in the U.S. Um, different countries use different types of cell site simulator models. So there's a lot of work trying to get those accounted for, and then getting RayHunter to detect those. The network, cell network configurations across the world vary across country to country. Right now, they don't have much information, not as much data as they'd like for like Europe, Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Right now, it's like I said, it's really central. Like it's been kind of focused on the U.S. just because that's where a lot of the work is being done from the EFF. Um, there's signature variations. Commercial cell site simulator devices from different manufacturers have different signatures. Each are slightly different in regards to fingerprints, and signatures are constantly needing to be updated on RayHunter itself. It's kind of like an antivirus. Think of like any of these antivirus devices. You're getting like weekly, daily to weekly signature updates for the new malware. So this RayHunter does need to be updated quite often with new signature definitions. So the more deployments. Well, does somebody ask a question? No. So yeah, the more deployments that are out there, the better signatures we can get. Geographic diversity helps identify more of these patterns that are out there, and different regulatory environments can affect the usage as well. So just kind of the key point: this is ongoing research. RayHunter is improving based off real world data, and the open source model that this whole thing is. It's helping them rapidly iterate. But just if you live in another country outside of the U.S., really consider, playing around with this. Like I said, it's pretty cheap to get started, and the data that you discover will help make the product better and help detect these the misuse of these. So kind of like, and I know I'm getting kind of closer to the end. So why does this all matter? Um, it's we need to really start with the surveillance problem. This is surveillance without oversight. Um, like I mentioned earlier, it's civil liberties core issue. Um, they're able to use these devices to kind of track anyone's location with real-time positioning, historical movement patterns, and can be used to identify associates, habits, and private spaces of individuals. Um, a lot of times these can be used without visible warrants. So unlike a physical search, you'll really never see these being used. They're hard, if not impossible, to challenge if you don't know that these were used, and these are really Fourth Amendment concerns where the issue kind of really lies. Um, in regards to the indiscriminate collection, these cell site simulators catch everybody that's in range, not just a single target. So even if there was a warrant for an individual, it's by just the way this whole thing is designed, it's going to collect everybody that's in that vicinity of that cell site simulator. So bystanders data is collected incidentally. So in regards to like First Amendment concerns too, like you could know like who's at a mosque or who's at a protest or a union meeting, and this information could theoretically be used against you if somebody wanted to. So kind of the like, well,
Sean, sorry. Do you
yeah,
mind if I just ask a question? I have no idea about the amendments, so do you mind like sort of explaining those?
yeah, I'll I'm not the best when it comes to like constitutional law and stuff like that, so I can share some information with you afterwards. So I'll definitely
Sure,
do
we'll
that.
do that. That's fine. To me, like Fourth Amendment, First Amendment, it just sort of like breezes past me because I don't really know what those are.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, like I said, I could share some. I won't get into like American kind of like constitutional amendments here, but I can definitely share some details on that later, especially when it comes to this, just because it's a little slightly off topic here. Um, Good question. You guys can see my screen here. Okay, so back into like the civil liberties concerns. So like I mentioned, before RayHunter was out, um, these questions couldn't be answered. So like, are cell site simulators being used at protests? Who is deploying this technology? How frequently is it being used? Um, where are these being? Where are these? Sorry, where is the surveillance occurring, and transparency through detection? So, and kind of like this to sum this all up, privacy. Your privacy is at stake. Um, your freedom of association gets there is concerns about that. Who you meet with and where you go, political organizations, religious groups, unions. His, you know, there's been a lot of historical examples of government abuse, and so on and so forth. So I hope this is making sense why this tool is important and why this is definitely a concern, and some of the benefits of leveraging a tool like this. um I think other than that, I think some of this is getting repetitive. I think I kind of went around and covered most of this stuff. um Other than that, I will share out this deck. I do have all the different resources I pulled this information from. Uh, like I said, the Ray Hunter is on GitHub, so there's a lot of good information there. Um, we have the project. They have documentation. There's a really good white paper called "Gotta Catch 'Em All," and that is a deck that was presented a couple months ago on RayHunter, and some of the findings that they've been finding on that. The guys from the FF and RayHunter did a DEF CON 33 talk this year, and that video has been posted as well. That's a really good one. Most of the information I got was from that as well. And yeah, I think that is it. Yeah. So yeah, appreciate everybody's time. Does anybody have any questions at all for me?
So you said that one of the main features of actually trying to get people to use the IMSI catcher is that it drops your phone's like connectivity down from 4G to 2G, right? In Australia, like they've actually completely closed the 2G network and also 3G as well. So like, is there actually a likelihood that many phones will just sort of ignore any request to actually put it down to 2G and just switch networks?
That's a good question. It's I don't know if I can answer that question. I know, like I said, I've seen the option in Android and iOS to disable the use of 2G networks. So, and I know a lot of other countries use 2G networks as well too. So that being said, I'm not 100% sure if they out of the box do block that. So I would still go out of my way to hit that flag to disable the 2G network if you have the option in your phone to do that, just in case.
Oh, I
But
do
yeah,
have
definitely a good
that
question.
option. I have had it turned off for a while.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Are you using are you using iPhone or Android device for that?
I've got a Samsung with a custom ROM. That's what I use. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
believe
I don't
I think
have like
Korea is also in the same position where they've actually just completely removed 2G as well, and that's why they have the option in the first place. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean the same with US. We disabled 2G I think 2 years ago, and then I think they actually started disabling parts of 3G as well too. Because I know like I had like at one time in the past had like a solar panel system that was 3G, and they came out and did a free upgrade to like 4G because I guess they were turning off the part of the 3G network. So, but yeah, whether the phone will still connect if it sees a 2G network, that's a I don't know. That's definitely a good question.
What they've basically said here is that well, AMTA, which is the authority that basically talks about like speed, they say that the national 3G network is closed because they want to boost the speed and